Welcome to the Stuff and Things Podcast, your home for all stuff related to your favorite things in entertainment. Now, here are your hosts.
Hello everybody and welcome back to the Stuff and Things Podcast. I am Sam. Joining me to discuss the latest episode of House of the Dragon, it's Stefan.
Hello. How we doing?
Crap.
Yeah.
We are a day late and apologies everyone. I am poorly sick, so I'm going to do my very best not to be poorly sick whilst recording, but I make no guarantees.
Oh, please don't be, because if you're poorly sick whilst we're recording and I hear it, I'm going to then be poorly sick. So, yeah.
Yes, there you go. That's everyone listening thinking, oh, good God, it's dangerous. Here we go.
Yeah, it's a risky podcast.
This is House of the Dragon, Season 2, Episode 5. Title of the episode was...
Regent.
Now, I was going to say the halfway point. However, what I didn't realise until looking that up is we only get eight episodes this season.
Yeah, it's a shorter season than I was expecting.
Yeah, so it was 10 last year, which was the sort of Game of Thrones standard until it went to crap at the end. And this year 8. So yeah. Next year
Bastards are short-changing us.
Next year it'll probably be 6, and then 4, and then just 1.
And then just one movie.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that's one way of doing it, I guess.
Well, yeah.
What were your overall thoughts on the episode?
This one gripped me less than the other episodes have this season.
Oh, okay.
I felt this one was a very slow-paced kind of episode. A lot happened, but I think after kind of the hype of last week's episode, this week's episode was kind of a bit like, do something. Do something.
Well, yeah.
And I've got to the stage now with like Damien's whole kind of storyline.
Damon,
and all his hallucinating weirdness.
Yeah.
I'm like that's kind of throwing me a bit. I don't think I'm enjoying that bit.
No, you're not alone. This is quite interesting actually. I follow a number of content creators who are massively into the books and obviously Game of Thrones series and now House of the Dragon. And
yes.
Almost to a person, they're all kind of done with that. It's like, no, this is going on too far and also getting too weird. Like him humping his mother this week is like, there's no need for that. It's like
it's just weird. Like it was one of those ones of like, we're watching it and I'm like, who the fuck is this person? Like, has he just met someone there? I mean, it would be very him if he just met, and then, oh no, wait, she talks about, it's his mother. Oh, okay. Oh God. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
There's no need for it. Like, it was good for one episode to make us go, oh, what's real? What's not real? Oh, this is fun. Yeah. And now they're dragging it on and I'm like, okay.
Well, I mean,
I think it's gone from, oh, is that real? Is that not real? To me going, oh, is this even real? I think it's kind of overplayed it, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I mean, I guess with me, I'm kind of like, what's the end game with it? Because we know that, what's her name, Rivers is messing with him.
Mm-hmm.
But what is her goal? Like, is she doing this just to torture him and break him? Is she doing this to try and get him back to like kind of, I don't know, is to try and show him that, what he's doing is wrong? I honestly don't know, because her interaction with him in this episode would suggest she's trying to not manipulate, but just trying to correct him, trying to kind of bring him on side, bring him to heel, because he's obviously off on this sort of tangent at the moment.
Call me king, fuck off. Sort of attitude, yeah. That made me laugh. Call me king, but you're not a king, sort of thing. Well, what do you call the husband of a queen? The king. Corns. Yeah, not actual king, mate. Which kind of, I think is interesting because we've been spoken a few times about what his kind of motivations are.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden, him demanding that people call him king and, and it's like, bend the knee to the king. And I'm like, oh, okay.
Well, this episode, for the first time, he says outright that he's taking the throne for himself. And Rhaenyra's welcome to come and rule by his side, but he's taking it himself. And it's strange. It's like all of these kind of visions, all of these things he's doing seems to be making him double down on this notion that he has to be the one to sort all this out because he's the stronger one. But at the same time, like, he had so many opportunities at different points to press his claim for the throne if he'd wanted to, but he actually crowned Rhaenyra. He actually made those choices. So it seems really now out of character that he's now doing this. I don't know. It's strange to me. He's not a character I've ever really liked, but I think that's down to the fact I don't like the actor. So it's difficult for me because I'm kind of looking at it like, yeah, you're an asshole. Yeah, strange. So I'm going to work my way through my notes, like always, and I'm going to start with Cole parading the head of the dragon through King's Landing and it not having the impact he hoped for. What did you think about that scene?
I mean, every episode, Cole manages to do something else to make me hate him more, which is fun.
Yeah.
I'm always excited to see what the next episode will make me hate him for.
Yeah.
He thought it was going to be some massive victory. Like, look what your king has done. What a hero. And everyone's kind of like, oh my God, what have you done? Why have you killed a dragon? The dragons are like gods. Why would you kill a dragon? What is wrong with you?
Yeah, I mean the way,
like, we don't want to see his head coming through the town. Like, what are you doing? It's like,
the way I kind of looked at it as well is the Targaryens are the dragon riders, and the Targaryens basically claim to the throne of the Seven Kingdoms as their dragons. Everyone knelt to the dragons. It wasn't that the Targaryens were better in battle than anyone else. It was the fact they're the only people with an air force.
Yeah.
Now, with that in mind, the small folk, the people, will probably look on those dragons as like magical, godlike, mystical creatures, and yet they're parading the head through the streets, and it's like, I think one of them even says, "Oh, it's just meat." Well, yeah, it's like you've taken that air of mystique, this air of invincibility from the dragons. All of a sudden, you take away the air of invincibility from the Targaryens. So I did think that was kind of interesting. I did think that once again, Cole just proves he's an idiot.
Completely.
Don't get me wrong. I think he's a soldier and he does okay. Battle-wise, he's got a good record. But he's an idiot.
Completely. Yeah.
Like that
I hadn't even thought down the whole from gods to just a bit of meat. I hadn't thought about it down there. All of a sudden, the Targaryens aren't so feared.
Yeah. You're looking at that. Now, the small folk in this episode, it was quite interesting. Now, we catch up with the guy who was the blacksmith, and we saw him in episode 1, I think, approaching the king, asking for money. Basically saying that because of the blockade, they're making all these things for the crown, but they're struggling and they really need money to be able to finish and do these things. And the king said, yeah, of course, I'll get that done for you. And it's obviously not happened. And now
we saw him again, like the next episode he appeared, and it was she'd had to walk X amount of miles now just to get food, and people are starting to steal and stuff. So we've kind of seen that develop quite fun. Yeah,
now it's quite interesting because, again, in this episode, we now see all the food's rotten, and they're basically picking stuff that's the least rotten to eat. Their child's sick, which is awful, and they try, they're trying everything they can. And he's kind of, the king said he'd get us the money, and she's like, well, no, it's not happening.
Yeah, it showed the kind of two sides of the supporters. You had like the blacksmith who was very much, nope, the king said it, the king will do it, trust the king, believe in the throne. Like if he says he's going to pay us, he'll pay us. And his wife is very much like, okay, well, you can stay here and wait for his lies to never happen. Yeah. But me and your daughter are not. So we're out of here. Bye-bye.
Now, the king, as we know, is fucked up. The king is in a bad way. It's pretty gross, that scene where the maesters are trying to like peel the armor that's burnt to his flesh. Alicent straight away, I think, suspects Aemon, of doing something. She is like right
pretty much
away.
Instantly. Yeah.
Well, she sees he's got the dagger, which is the king's dagger, and she's just like, why do you have that? Like, what has happened? She asks Cole, and Cole's just like, doesn't say anything, which...
Oh, no. Yeah.
Yeah, which was cowardly. Wouldn't even look up at her. He was just like blading his sword. And so we have this small council to pick a regent, because obviously the king's incapacitated. They don't know if he's going to recover at all. And Alicent...
This thing made me laugh.
Oh, it made you laugh?
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm like, the whole point of the blacks versus the greens is the fact that, you know, they wouldn't have a queen on the throne.
Yeah.
And how it had... And for some reason, she thought they'd put her on the throne for it.
Yeah.
I'm like, why are you surprised, love? This whole war is happening because of the exact thing you now think they're going to accept and agree on.
Well, keep in mind that she thinks it's happening because her husband changed his mind.
Well,
So in her head, but the reality is, as we know, they were already plotting to do this anyway.
Yeah. She's like, yes, I can do it. I've done it before. And they're all just looking at her going, no, we're not on the throne.
I think one of them even says, like, we can't...
Yeah, it's the clubfoot.
Yeah, when we've replaced Rhaenyra, we can't exactly hand it over to you. She looks to Cole for support, you know, the guy who's basically been giving her a C&2 on a regular basis, and he completely stabs her in the back as well. And therefore... Aemond is now the regent.
Yeah, he gets what he wanted.
Yeah, which is terrifying, because let's face it, he is not a good person.
No, not even a little. I mean, the fact he looks like Voldemort when he goes and sees the brothel says everything you need to know. But the fact that it now makes it even worse. What happened in the last episode where he just kind of set fire to both the dragons and without a care? You're now like, my God, he did do it literally just because he had clearly had enough of his brother on the throne, and I can do it better.
Well, we said when his brother showed up and sort of mocked him at the brothel, there was going to be a consequence. I don't think I quite saw it being this brutal, but
no, quite extreme. Yeah.
Now, his first act as regent is to seal the gates to King's Landing, because they say that with all of the sort of rumours, unrest, people starving, as people are leaving King's Landing, word is spreading across the kingdom. So he's like, right, fine, seal the gates. No one can leave, no one can arrive. Which basically means that anyone who was bringing food into King's Landing that isn't via a dock now can't get in. And the people are trapped inside King's Landing are just going to starve. The guys, like, and you see Alicent like almost bursting into tears as she's listening to him say it. It's like, the guy is just a psychopath. He then says about cutting down the rat catchers, but still, it's like, yeah, that's a good thing to do, simply because you got rotting people up on the walls. But
yeah, that was one of those scenes where they're cutting them down and boom, they hit the floor. It's like, oh.
You see the dog still there following.
Yeah. A loyal dog, considering the bloke was an arsehole.
Well, I'm amazed no one's killed the dog and ate it yet, to be honest.
Well, there's not much meat on it, to be fair.
Yeah.
That's probably why.
More than some people are getting, though, so
this is true.
I'd be nervous if I was that dog.
Yeah.
So he does that. Now, he seals it down, and I'm jumping around here, but it's kind of linked. Back on Dragonstone, the White Worm sneaks with Rhaenyra's blessing sneaks someone inside of King's Landing, and they go to visit someone. Now, this is like one of the Queen's sort of handmaidens. She gets inside via favours that are owed to the White Worm. She gets inside and she goes to see Diana. Dyana. Now, did you remember who this was? Because I didn't. I had to look it up.
No, I didn't.
No. So in season 1, she was the one raped by the king.
Oh.
And then Alicent had to cover it up.
Right, okay.
She was a servant in there. And we've also seen her in this series working as a barmaid.
Yeah, when she then went to the Queen to kind of say what had happened, she just dismissed her and Yep.
So we have that. I'm interested to know what the plan is there. But one of the things that the White Worm says to Rhaenyra is there's more than one way to fight a war. And I think she's trying to come up with a way of stirring up the small folk in King's Landing, because they do have the numbers. You know, there are a lot of them.
Well, yeah. And they literally have nowhere else to go now.
No, and they are starving. So that's kind of interesting development. It's going to be interesting to see where that goes. Now, like you said at the start, Daemon is continuing to have all his haunted visions. Just before I jump to that, though, sorry, I do have another thing. What did you think of Alicent and Cole's interaction when all the rat catchers are being cut down? Alicent approaches him. So this is after the small council meeting where he's basically stabbed her in the back, and she sort of approaches him like, "What the fuck, dude?" What did you think of that interaction?
It was an interesting one, because they have had this kind of weird kind of sexual connection for the last God knows how long.
Yeah.
And she obviously thought, because he was getting some, that he would jump to her defense.
Yeah.
It hasn't happened, and she is pissed about it.
Well,
and then he makes a comment at the end, and it was like, you don't use my name.
Yeah, she put him in his place right at the end.
Yeah.
Like, I didn't give you
remember who you actually are.
Yeah. Well, it was interesting because he does seem genuinely freaked out by witnessing dragons in a battle. That does appear to have genuinely freaked him out, like men in armor burned alive, like the flesh, the smell of it. So that does appear.
It said, people running in armor, but they're on fire and stuff. Yeah, that's going to leave a mental scar.
Yeah, without a doubt. So he does seem to be genuinely traumatized by that. At the same time, he's an asshole. So I think her putting him in his place, I think it just goes to show as well, he was after power all along. She was his meal ticket, and then he got made the hand of the king, and he doesn't need her anymore.
Yeah, he does seem like very power driven, doesn't he?
Yeah.
Which is surprising, because he's an absolute idiot.
So heading over to Daemon, like we said. So Daemon is being haunted by visions and is making mistake after mistake. He confronts some of the River Lords with his dragon. He's basically the Brackens, and he's like, bend the knee or I'm going to light you up.
They just turn their back and walk away. I was like, oh, okay. Didn't expect that, and I don't think he did either.
No, he didn't. I mean, he did say to the Blackwoods, he said, these are the kind of people I need, which is ironic. And the Blackwoods are just kind of like, no, they're dicks. We hate them. We've always hated them. Now, he then basically instructs the Blackwoods to motivate them, to bring them to heel, bring them on side. He doesn't tell them what to do, strongly insinuates it, and says there's certain things the crown can't be seen to be doing. And the Blackwoods are like, got it, yeah, don't you worry, we'll sort it out for you. And they go off. Now, I don't think I fully understood what the plan was there, but we learn throughout the episode that basically what they've done is they've gone in and kidnapped women and children, slaughtered loads of people, and are basically along the lines of, if you don't join the fight on our side, we're going to cut all their heads off. Is that basically what you've seen?
I think you're on the right lines. Yeah. Like, but again, this is the second time that he has sent people off to do something for him.
Yeah.
Not given clear instructions, and it's gone wrong.
This is what I mean by just making mistake after mistake after mistake, because he sent a group of people who hate the other group, and they've just used it as an excuse to go around butchering them. And they've done it with his banner. So he said, like, oh, there's certain things the king shouldn't be seen to be doing. And yet they've done it with his banner. And he has this moment where the River Lords come to him at night. He's all pissy about it, like, oh, I dare you wake me up, I'm your king. And they're like, you're a tyrant.
Yeah, fucking not.
And they basically have a right. And they basically just stand up to him like, no, we'd rather face fire than obey a tyrant like this. And
it's like literally all of them as well. And it was like, oh, okay, so he has now officially lost the Riverlands.
Yeah.
Like, he's screwed up royally on that one.
Yep. He has massively screwed up.
And it's like, he's just spent all this time. We've seen him spend all this time being Bob the Builder, fix it, everywhere, trying to get the castle back into some sort of repair so that he can invite all these River Lords to come in and kind of become part of one house. And instead, he's sent their arch enemy with basically do what you like, just as long as they bend the knee. Yeah. How did he think that was going to go well?
Well, he's not thinking clearly. He's not thinking at all. He's not a strategic-minded person. He's trying to be, but that was his brother. His brother was strategically minded. His brother was politically minded. His brother reigned over the longest period of peace in the Seven Kingdoms history because he probably sought these conflicts out and dealt with them. Whereas Daemon is a soldier, in essence. He is a dragon rider. He's a warrior. So his solution is always, all right, we'll kill him then. And it just doesn't work. Like, it isn't working for him at all. Now he's
not even a little bit.
Now he's making a massive mess of everything there. On Dragonstone, Rhaenyra is confronted by her council again. And there's a guy there, Sir Broom, who is constantly kind of not overly stupidly sassy, but he makes a comment this week about the fairer sex not being ready for warfare. And she basically puts him in his place by saying, like, my father reigned over peacetime for however many years. I fought as many battles as you. Which
I love that.
Which was good. She then basically takes him to one side and is like, look, I trust you. He's like, oh, you're sending me away from your council. He's like, no, I trust you. I believe in you. You are loyal to my father. I need you to go to Daemon and find out what's going on, because I don't know if he's raising an army for me or raising an army for himself. And he's like, he wouldn't. And she's like, it's Daemon. So
the line, something like, because he hasn't done stuff like this before is basically what she says to him. It's like, fair point.
Yeah, so he has been sent on this mission. Do you trust him?
Who?
Sir Broom, yeah.
I think so, yeah.
Something weird about him. Like, the only reason why I'm questioning it is he does this big speech about being trustworthy. So I guess I'm just cynical, but it's like when you put that in, it kind of feels like, oh, okay. Yeah. We're going to get an episode at some point where it's like previously, and it gives him giving that speech, and you're like, right, here we go.
Yeah. Yeah, it was like, aha, you thought I was loyal, but actually...
Yeah, so that's going to be interesting. Now, Jacaerys, he's getting kind of pissed off, and he has a conversation with Baela. The conversation on the lines of was like, oh, I'm stuck here, I'm bored, I need to do something. And he actually has a plan, and actually executes the plan pretty well. He goes off to the twins to meet the Freys, everyone's favourite family from Game of Thrones. And he basically, he delivers one line which I really liked, which is they were like, oh, we're scared of Vhagar. And he was like, I have a dragon sat right there, and you're afraid of the dragon miles away. And they were a bit like, ooh, shit. Okay, fair point.
Yeah, you win. Okay, you are right there.
Yeah, fair point. He basically it works out that, like, with everyone, they want something. And they want Harrenhal. And he's like, okay, at the end of the war, you want Harrenhal, but there's something I'm going to need from you. And they're like, okay, what's that? And he's like, bent knees. And I love that line. That he delivered that so badass. And then he goes back to report to his mum, like, hey, I've done this. And even she's just like, oh, you went off. Oh, okay, well done. That was actually really good.
Yeah, fair play. Yeah. Don't do that again, but well done.
Now, whilst he's gone off and done that, Baela and Rhaenyra have a conversation about her grandmother, Rhaenys, who's died. We've seen Corlys a few times in this episode looking just distraught and not knowing what to do with himself. And she kind of speaks to her, and they're having like quite a nice sort of reminiscing, talking about her and, you know, when she claimed the dragon and it drove Damien mental because he wanted it and stuff like that. And so it was kind of interesting. It was quite fun. And then she hands something to Baela and says, go deliver this to Lord Corlys. She takes it. I didn't know what it was. I was a bit sort of intrigued, but it was a pin to be the hand of the Queen. And delivers it to Corlys, and Corlys is just like, oh, you know, what more can she want from me? Like, my wife's dead for her cause. And Baela kind of schools him. Baela basically is just like, no, Rhaenys made a decision. No one made her go and do that. She made the decision to go and fight. That was her choice, fighting for a cause that she thought was worthy, and she died doing it, which is how I'd want to go.
Yeah, I want to go in fire in battle as well. And his face is like, I just want someone to follow me into the sea. Like, well, he so just wants that heir to the throne on the sea.
Well, she is so confident, so kind of forthright with him. He turns to her and it's just like, you know, I'd name you my successor because you are incredible. And she's just like, no, I am fire and blood. It should pass to someone who's sea and salt. And again, I love that. Again, she's just like, no, I'm fully Targaryen, you know. Don't you worry about me. I like this scene. I liked Baela basically just sort of like giving it to him straight along the lines of, we're all missing her. We're all mourning her. But you basically being a bitch about it ain't going to help anyone. Do you think he's going to show up and help, or do you think he's done?
Oh, genuinely do not know. No, like, I can completely understand he goes and joins the Queen and does what his wife would have wanted.
Yeah.
And I also completely understand him turning around and going, do you know what? Not my battle anymore. I'm going to take my ships and I am off to sea.
Well, I mean, if he does that, I mean, that'd end the blockade and stuff, which is the one thing that Rhaenyra's got in place, which is really having an impact. But yeah, you're right. Going back to Dragonstone, when Jacaerys does arrive back, him and his mother have a really good interaction again, a really good conversation. She's pleased with what he's done, and they're talking about what can they do, because the dragon, like Vhagar, is such a threat. Like, what can we actually do? And they're talking about the fact that they've got at least 2 dragons that are unclaimed that are big. And they're like, if we could get riders for those 2, they could take down Vhagar. Like,
he may be big, but he can't take 2 on 1. Yeah,
not the sort of size that they are. Now, it was kind of interesting that, because I know they've hinted a fair few times that they've got a number of dragons that are riderless around Dragonstone. And so we kind of knew that, but I don't think they've discussed the size of them or anything up until this point. But
they could have all been a load of baby younglings that just kind of, you know, sitting in caves like.
But the fact she said that 2 of them are big would suggest that, okay, all right, well that's interesting then, because that would create an advantage and it would perhaps put them on the back foot. So they're discussing, like, well, unfortunately, we don't have any dragon riders. And Jacaerys is like, well, maybe, but we got loads of, like, people who have fallen out of the Targaryen line. We've got, like, you know, people who have married out of the house. You know, maybe they've got the ability. And she kind of says, like, oh, no, you got to be pure Targaryen. And he's like, no, I'm fairly confident that's just what the books say to make us seem infallible. Like, we definitely need the blood of old Valeria, but I don't know how watered down that can be or anything like that. Now, this kind of made me laugh a little bit because me and you, a couple of episodes ago, there was a scene in a tavern where there was a guy telling a story that he was the bastard son of a Targaryen.
Yeah.
And we were just like, that's so random. Like, what was that about?
Why would they mention that? That seems really out of place. And all of a sudden, you're now like, oh my God, he's going to put a call out to anyone who thinks they can ride a dragon.
Yeah. Yeah.
And he's going to arrive and badass it onto a dragon. Like, yo, sub bitches, this one's mine. Yeah.
Well, it's just very interesting. Now, there's two aspects of this that I'm thinking, which is one, you're just like calling these people in, you don't know them. That's potentially asking for trouble. You could get them bonded with a dragon and then they're like, I'm Team Green, bitch, and leave. And you're like, oh, great, I've just handed another dragon to the other side.
I've handed a dragon and he's just destroyed half of Dragonstone.
So what kind of precautions are they going to take in doing this? It's interesting. I thought that interaction at the end of the episode was really good.
Well, from the look of the amount of scrolls, it's going to take him a while to read through and work out who's who.
Potentially,
so that's a bit of homework I wouldn't enjoy.
No, not really.
No, she looks up. You can see there's like a few scrolls on the side, and you're like, genius. Just go through the quick family tree lines and all that. Brilliant. And then the camera kind of zooms out, and you're like, oh, that's a lot of paperwork.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. You've got to try and now find. I can feel like we're going to see a lot of like them going, maybe, no, wait, not that one. Next one. Yes, no, not that guy.
Yeah.
Well, there's going to be a lot of that to try and find who would be.
Well, it's interesting because she says, like, if it's so many generations, it'd be watered down so much that they might not be able to bond with a dragon, and it could be deadly because the dragon, like, if you try and bond with it and it doesn't rate you, it's going to eat you.
Yeah.
One of the things that, again, going back to that scene before, is that guy claimed to be a bastard of a Targaryen, so he's literally the child of one. So he is as close to just a pure Targaryen as there can be. So that guy rocking up probably would be one that could ride a dragon.
Yeah, I mean, we're going to keep an eye out to see if he reappears, which I must assume he's going to after this.
You'd think, and I guess we'd find out if he was lying or not.
Very quickly.
Yeah.
His mates, it's going to be one of those ones where his mate's like, that guy can do it. He told us he can do it. He told us who he was. Yeah. And he's there going, no. No, I didn't.
Of course, he was in King's Landing, and King's Landing's now locked down. So unless he left first, I don't know.
Yeah.
We'll have to wait and see. But, mate, that's actually all my notes. Do you have anything else you want to chat about from this episode?
I don't think so. I think that is everything.
Yeah.
We get one scene with Rhaena, the youngest of the two.
Oh, of course. Yeah. At the Eyrie, we do.
That's it. Yeah, she's gone there, and there's a bit of a falling out because I've been sent here for you to protect me, and they're like, but we asked for a dragon. You got two. They're eggs.
Yeah, basically, they're still wet from the egg. They're tiny. It is a fair point, and the little kid does give her some sass, like, well, you didn't specify the size of the dragon, did you? And she's like, are you sassing me, you little shit? And I quite like that interaction. That was kind of weird. I mean,
I genuinely thought she was getting kicked out of like her hiding place, and then no, this will be your room. I'll see you at dinner, and you're like, oh, okay, the sass worked.
Yeah, well, I think she kind of liked her for doing that. But she's obviously the Lady Jane Arryn, who I think is related to Rhaenyra. I think Rhaenyra's mum was an Arryn.
Okay.
So there's a bond there. It'd be interesting to see how that develops, and if we see more of them. But that is it for this week's show. That is the episode 5, titled Regent. We will be back next week to discuss episode 6. Like I said, it is an 8-episode season, so we're on the home stretch. We're also finishing up because we've been doing 3 episodes a week for the podcast, and we're about to wrap up 2 of those shows. So the Acolyte be out tomorrow, the finale, and then the finale of The Boys the day after. 3 very good shows we've been enjoying, and 3 very different shows we've been enjoying and talking about. So if you're into all of them, thank you so much for being with us. We will be back next week. Until then, everybody, you all take care.
And we will talk soon.
Daemon is not here. And Aemond now rules in King's Landing.
Is Aegon dead?
Dead or alive, we have no answer for Vhagar. Aemond will not wait long to press his advantage. And then what? I have done all I can from here. Sent my messages, invoked my alliances. But if all else fails, it is I who must fight. Vhagar is big, but Syrax is quicker.
So was Meleys.
Meleys fought 2 dragons and one of them is slain. Shall I fight for my birthright, or shall I wait here until we are all destroyed?
Thank you for listening to the Stuff and Things podcast. We hope you enjoyed the show. You can find us on Facebook or online. Simply search the Stuff and Things podcast to join in our conversation every week.